Mate, I've had a plumbing emergency in Tbilisi.
Oh no! Play the theme music.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. I'm Alun and I'm here with the ever watertight Adam.
With all this spicy Rajasthani food, mate, I'm anything but.
Oh, that's a symptom of the spicy Rajasthani food, isn't it, sometimes? But have I got a hell of a story that requires a watertight element, so I hope you can fasten yourself up for later on in the episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing all about your time in Tbilisi. And I'm sorry that it involves something water-related, I imagine?
Yep, it's a plumbing emergency, Adam. That's one of the reasons that I'm calling you today, aside from the fact that I just want to talk to you. I miss you, really. I'm here in Tbilisi, and I'm enjoying Georgia so far. I've got myself a lovely apartment, and I'm living what can only be described as a very normal existence.
Well, important to add, you don't come from Georgia or Tbilisi. It is a new city.
Yeah, so that is an unusual element, I suppose, in that I'm sort of foreign alien wandering around here. So I get to live out my backpacking dreams in that way, but normal in the sense that I've got a little apartment. I'm pouring a bath every other day. I'm sitting and I've taken to watching stand-up comedy in the bathtub every evening.
What, like on your laptop or something?
Yeah,
You just
put the laptop on
the
the
side,
stool.
perch it. Yeah.
Exactly. Put the laptop on the stool, sit in the bath. Sometimes I
On
have
a stool. You should have flushed that before the bath.
And then I put a little bar of chocolate, dark chocolate, along the side of the bath, and I watch the comedy and have a bit of the chocolate. Isn't that a treat?
Yeah, I don't think that's very normal. I think you might be inspiring more and more people to, do something like that of their evening now. That's awesome. But it's a bit of a reset for you, fair to say?
Yeah, a bit of a reset. Give it a try. If you listen to this and you think, ooh, bar of chocolate in the bath, that sounds like a treat. Give it a try. It really is quite wonderful. And what else?
It sounds really romantic.
Yep, I am on my own though, terribly lonely in the bath watching stand-up comedy. It's one of the other things. But I've just got a little routine. I go to a little outdoor gym here in Tbilisi where they've got like one of those machines that you use your own body weight to bench press. So I'm doing that.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Are you doing like the equivalent of dog walkers, where you do the dog walker small talk? Are there people that you see repeatedly every day at the outdoor gym and you do the sort of nod, all right, how are you doing?
Well, unfortunately, the people of Tbilisi have taken to using the outdoor gym as a sort of additional seating area. But I can speak so little Georgian that oftentimes I have to go. And if there are people just sat on the bench press having a chat, I'm not confident enough to go and approach them and say, oh, can I use this? Do you speak English? So I just sit on another bench and wait for them to leave.
What's the longest you've been at the outdoor gym?
7 minutes waiting. And then really, I'm not strong enough to do more than 5 minutes on the bench press. So I'm there for a total of 12 minutes and more than half of it is waiting.
It's quite normalised, I guess, in Georgia. It definitely is in Asia. Across Asia, there are loads of outdoor gyms. I think they're great. But in the UK, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen one.
No, because it's better in the UK to spend all your hard-earned money on a privatised gym. So, if you are thinking about getting into shape, perhaps quit your whole existence and move to a different country and you'll save up to £10 a month.
Well, I'm looking at you, mate. I can see there is some definition there. You're looking ever so broad, ever so lean.
Thank you. Well, I am. It's all CGI, mate. We've got this new Tripology recording studio, and one of the features that I've been working so hard is that it gives me like computer graphically generated musculature. So if you want to see that, I mean, you go to youtube.com/@Tripology podcast, don't you? Some of the other things I like about Tbilisi are the people. They're very, very kind, very, very sweet people. Really enjoying. It's very European facing from my perspective. I think I feel very at home here in a cultural sense. I've been going to the theatre. I've been going to the cinema. I've been trying all the amazing Georgian food. It's beautiful.
Is it quite quaint? Are there lots of, tight little alleyways and cobbled streets and market squares and this sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's quite quaint in that sense, but it's also got this very visceral, prideful past where I think the people here are very proud of what they've achieved and the way their city is set up. So quaint in
Hmm.
maybe the aesthetic sense, but anything but in the spiritual, psychological sense. I think they're just wonderful people here. I really do.
That's really cool. Your apartment, talk to me about that. Is that in a sort of residential area outside of the main city, or is it quite central, or is it like in a more touristy area? Is there even a touristy area in Tbilisi yet?
There is, yeah. There's an old Tbilisi is where all the tourists hang out. Rustaveli, that's where I am, right slap bang in the middle. So I sort of walk out of my apartment, and right in front of me are all the museums and the parliament buildings and all sorts of beautiful little bakeries where I can get kingali and, well, kingali actually, kingali is a sort of dumpling, so you wouldn't really get that at a bakery. But Khachapuri, I think you pronounce it. That's sort of a baked sort of, like, I like to think of it as a precursor to the pizza. It's sort of cheesy bread.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. A precursor. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things happened in Georgia thousands of years ago that maybe they don't get credit for in the mainstream. Wine being one of them.
Yeah.
Have
You'd
you
be
had a
jealous
glass of
of the
wine or
wine.
two?
Yep, I have, mate. Saparave is the grape that I've been drinking. This red bottle of hangover-free wine. It's ever so delicious. Dry red wine. That's my fave.
That doesn't make it into the bathtub with the dark chocolate, because I imagine the pair together might be all right.
Sometimes it does. If of an evening I don't down a bottle of Saparave, head to the outdoor gym, bench press for 5 minutes, and then fall asleep in the bathtub, then I've not lived. Some of the things I like.
Brilliant.
Some of the things I like about Tbilisi, mate, is they're really, really kind to their stray dogs.
Right. Okay.
No,
Stray dogs. There are enough to notice. Then that is, I think, unusual to see in a European city, isn't it?
but you wouldn't know they were strays because they're so glossy coated and nice looking. You'd just think, oh, there's a dog. Maybe someone's lost it. And panic does take over for a moment until you realize the classic sign of a Georgian stray. It has a little earring of different colors. Now, there's some red, some yellow, and some green. And prior to arriving here, I was led to believe that the tag system was based on the behavior of the dog. Green was a very good boy. Yellow was good boy, but sometimes lashes out if you're too, like, mean to it. And red is approach with caution. And I was really sold on the mythology of the tag system. And the first dog I met in Georgia was a beautiful little Labrador with a yellow tag. And he came up to me and sat next to me in a cafe. And I was so, like, I fell in love with this little Labrador. I was stroking him, I was petting him, and I was like, what did you do to get a yellow tag? How have you got a yellow tag? I was so passionate about it that I thought maybe there's a number I can ring up to try and get him promoted to green or something, you know?
The way that it interacted with you thought 5 gold stars.
I thought he was amazing. I was like, I wonder if I wish he had a QR code on his earring that I could scan and then leave a review on an internal system like, number 6943 was a very good boy. I reckon yellow is a bit harsh. Sure, he may have been aggressive in the past, but his behaviour in the modern age is nothing short of exemplary.
Oh, that's all a little bit dystopian, a bit Black Mirror, isn't it? I can actually imagine a future where that does exist, and it might not be that far away.
Well, I was explaining this knowledge to my Georgian friend, and she said she'd never heard of this. So she actually went to the lengths, because we don't like to spread misinformation on Tropology. She rang up a government service to inquire about whether the dog tag system was true. And it turns out they literally told her that it just depends on what colour tags they have at the vet when the dogs get vaccinated. So all the tag means is that the dog's been vaccinated, but it isn't relating to its behavior, which I think's, I mean, the number of red tagged boys I have not gone anywhere near, because I'm thinking, God, this one must be a serial biter. But in actual fact, he was just victim to, I mean, what can only be described as colour-based prejudice in the tag department.
Totally. Yeah, you should call up the government and say, I don't know, know if you've thought about this, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but it is tarnishing the dog's reputation if they have a red tag in their ear.
Yeah,
It's
but
maybe
turns
a
out,
little bit out of field, but it's something you should consider. Why don't you just stick with one tag and just order those on repeat?
well, the only person spreading misinformation about the tag system was me, and I'm not sure where I heard it. I'm sure I read it on a blog online. But yeah, turns out it's not the end of the world if you got a red tag.
All the dogs with the red tags in their ears have formed a union.
Yeah, exactly. And all the dogs, you should see the arrogance of the green tag dogs. My goodness.
Why are we being treated differently?
What else have I done in Georgia, mate? I went up to see the mother of Georgia, this great big statue, Christ the Redeemer-esque. She stands over Tbilisi, a short hike to get up to her. Big stone monolith. She's got a sword in one hand and a bowl of wine in the other. Can you guess why she carries those two items?
A sword and a bowl of wine. I mean, she's a woman after my own heart, having a bowl of wine for sure.
She certainly is.
Why would she carry those two items? Is she, did you say she's a goddess?
No, she's just the mother of, she's the symbol of Georgia, the symbol of the country.
Are we sure it's wine and not blood?
Well, yeah, no, we are sure because the symbol is to represent that she will greet the enemy with the blade and the friend with the bowl of wine. And I think that's nice, if anything.
That's really nice. Although I can understand the the guests being somewhat confused. She's like, no, don't run away. The wine's for you.
Yeah. Why have you got your sword out, though? Perhaps put the sword away and then come with the wine. But the bowl of wine could be useful in combat with the sword. I think you could go sort of a splash and stab style attack.
The old splash and stab. You don't find that in many history books, but yeah, that's not. Hang on, splashing definitely hot beverages over people was a tactic, wasn't it? When people were attacking forts, there was an invasion. They would use one of those arrow slits to just pour a load of hot oil down, which is pretty rough.
Yep, and the mother of Georgia is no different.
Yeah, people like me arriving at the castle. No, it's fine. I've spoken to her. It's going to be wine, lads. It's going to be wine. Just approach the castle with your mouth open and we'll all have a great time.
Yeah, it's old vino, Saparavi, red, dry, beautiful Georgian wine. You certainly won't get a hangover from that. I did something else, mate, that you'll like. I went to the theatre.
Right.
Now, that would have been a lovely experience, but I went. It was the first play I've ever seen that had it was completely in Georgian, but with English subtitles.
Interesting.
Projected onto a curtain behind the actors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, with cinema, subtitles works because the words come up very simultaneous to the actors talking. So if something happens on screen, you can really see that the words relate and correspond with the action. But with the Georgian play, sometimes whole paragraphs would come up on the screen. It was quite a comedic play. Sometimes I would read it and go, and then no less than 30 to 35 seconds later, the audience would go, hey! And then other times the audience would react to something and I was like, I was panicking to read ahead to what was happening. It was a horror show.
How strange, how disorientating. So do you think you were the only person in there reading the English subs?
No, I think there was maybe a few of us. You could tell because we were all completely silent during the bits you were supposed to laugh.
Yeah, I mean, not to poo-poo on that idea, but I don't think that's going to catch on.
Yeah, well, I think theatre is catching on for the first time in Georgia post-pandemic. I think Georgian theatre used to be a very specific thing, but during the pandemic, these theatre groups decided to maybe look to the West a bit more with the theatre productions. And instead of these very dramatic plays, they're now exploring kind of comedy and those different, more contemporary styles. So I do think, though, it is a struggle doing English subtitles in a play.
Yeah, and I know you read quicker than most people. You're able to scan read because we've read excerpts together. And when we go to maybe it's a temple or some sort of other religious monument or tourist attraction, when we're reading a plaque together, you're always at the bottom before I've finished the first paragraph.
Yeah, but that might have been part of my problem. I think that the theatre didn't plan for different reading speeds.
Right, yeah. It wouldn't even be that difficult to change, would it? I mean, it's a theatre and they've rehearsed the play over and over again. They must know roughly the speed at which things are being said. And the technology also exists that words can appear one after the other in consequence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. But there was one bit where it became clear to me that the text on the projection didn't line up with what was being said at all. Like, it just didn't seem right.
Yeah.
And then there was sort of one of those spinning discs that indicates something is loading. And then in brackets, the words appeared improvised dialogue.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The engineer at the back's panicking. Yeah, it sounds like those bloody apps we use to do our Instagram content.
Mate, it's been an incredibly eventful time here in Georgia. There's one other big event that I'd love to tell you about, but we're going to have to do that after a brief meditation break. Like an improvised piece of dialogue being conjured in the mind of an aspiring Georgian actress, let your conscious mind return into your brain as we embark on a hell of a story, my friend, I've got about a plumbing situation, what occurred in my apartment.
Yeah, I suppose that is the sort of thing that would happen when you've rented an apartment, because if you're staying in hostels or couch surfing, etc., you wouldn't necessarily come across these sorts of things that normal people have to deal with.
Yeah, and it's not been uneventful because I really rented this apartment because I was sick and tired of just constantly moving from hostel to hostel. I had that bed bug, I had that tick, I was sick of all of that stuff. So I was just very, very excited to have a bit of peace and quiet. The beautiful feeling of opening the door to an apartment, knowing that will be home for the next 3 weeks. I mean, it's unparalleled, isn't it, in the travel world?
Yeah, it completely different to walking into a hostel every sort of other day or whatever. And I've got to say, mate, don't feel guilty about this. But now, because I've been on the road for a while and I've been staying in different accommodation every 1 or 2 days, the first thing I do is basically rip the bed apart and try and find bed bugs that aren't there. Every little speck, every little fly, I'm like, that's a bed bug, surely. I'm like walking around the room with Google images loaded on my phone, just trying to do comparisons to little insects. So you've made me more aware, if anything else.
Well, I hope I've had that effect on the whole tripological audience. I hope we've started a sort of psychological pandemic of people searching for bed bugs, because it's the only way we can win. Those little things, they've been adapted for tens of thousands of years. They have literally evolved alongside us from when we used to sleep in caves. You know, they're designed specifically to combat Homo sapiens on the frontier of the sleep. So it's time we started winning that fight, one tropologist at a time.
Fair enough, but no bed bugs in your apartment. Clean as a whistle.
Well, I've very thoroughly checked, and it seems that we're bed bug free. I also can confirm I've not carried any bed bugs with me. But just a few things happened when I was in this apartment. There's been a couple of occasions where the power's just suspiciously switched off and then rebooted in a couple of hours. And the people who own the Airbnb have just gone, don't worry, it's just something what happens occasionally. Sometimes the power goes off. No big deal, I thought. That's fine.
Yeah, they don't explain that in India. In India, that happens on a daily basis. They just don't. There's no explanation, no communication. It's just, the power's down now. It might come back on sometime.
But have you noticed, sometimes people explain these things away by going, oh, that's just Georgia. That's just India. That's just what happens in these countries. And I hate that, because it's like the stipulation is that, you're actually having just a very authentic experience when the power goes out. It's like, no, I understand. And I know it's not your fault that the power's gone out, but don't try and pass it off as part of my holiday.
If you don't like it, you can always travel somewhere else.
Yeah. I text them saying, the power's gone out. And they've gone, aren't you lucky you've had ever such an authentic Georgian experience of the power going out? As if I'm supposed to sit at home in total darkness going, finally, the authentic experience I was looking for.
I was feeling like a tourist up until this moment, but now I feel like a local Georgian.
Eating kinkali by candlelight is the best thing I've ever done.
Right, you wait until I tell the people down at the outdoor gym about this one. They're going to love
it.
Class.
So I'm fast asleep in my apartment. Yeah, I'm absolutely out like a light.
Right.
And thankfully, pertinently to the story, I've got a Georgian friend who's also hanging out and sleeping at my apartment, right? We're totally out like a light.
Cool.
Then, in the dead of night, a huge bang.
Uh-oh.
And to the extent that both of us wake up, bolt upright, and we're like, what on earth was that? I jump out of my bed, run across the thing to expect, because I thought maybe like someone's smashed the door and broken into the apartment. It was a huge bang, yeah?
What, and you ran to see that? Without a sword and a bowl of wine?
Which my friend did note later was exceptionally brave.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes when you're woken up by a really loud noise, you don't register that it's the noise that's woken you up, right?
Yeah.
But it was that loud that you were rocked.
If you are staying at someone's house or, visiting a friend or anything like that, and a loud noise happens and they run towards it, that is the ideal response. Because imagine if I'd have gone, oh, crikey, let's get into the wardrobe, I'm scared. So I run towards it. I go into the kitchen where I think the source, because I was worried maybe like the gas had exploded or something. And out from under the sink, water is spraying into the apartment. And I am talking high pressure spraying out, like maybe a liter of water every 10 seconds. It's gushing out.
Shit, what was the like the diameter of the hole that it was coming out of? Was it like a small waterfall, or was it higher pressure, like you would, as if you put your thumb over the end of a hose?
Yeah, it was like that kind of thing, like a fire hydrant. The hose underneath the tap had burst, completely ruptured, and water was just gushing out, right?
Shit, filling up on the floor and everything.
So my friend runs over. I'm like, oh my God, the kitchen is filling with water. Like it's just going all over the place. I'm running to try and find the stop valve, the stop cock, which is usually underneath the sink, right? The water to turn, the valve to turn off the water.
Yeah.
But the kitchen towels are getting slippy. So I run to try and find it. I just fall over and I'm rolling around. It's like 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's really difficult in those situations as well, because the longer you take to act, the worse it's going to be at the other end.
Right, exactly. So I'm texting the host of the Airbnb saying, where is the water valve? And they're not replying. Their WhatsApp is just off. And I'm slipping about. I'm going in and out. There comes a point where I was so sleepy, 3 a.m. I just go into the bathroom to like breathe for a second. And have you ever had a moment where you catch yourself in the mirror and you sort of look at yourself and you go, what on earth is happening here? I sort of just had a moment where I stared into my own eyes and I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
what am I going to do? The water starts filling the kitchen and then slipping over into the hall of the apartment.
Oh my God, like meandering through the rest of the apartment.
Yeah. So I have to now get towels and I'm like damming the kitchen with towels. At this point, the water's been coming out about a litre every 10, 15 seconds for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's like a significant amount of water coming now. The reason my friend is pertinent to the story is because she speaks Georgian. She managed to call the people I'm renting the Airbnb from on just a landline number.
Sure, yeah.
And got through to them. They'd obviously just like turned their Wi-Fi off for the night.
Yeah.
She gets through to them and is communicating with them in Georgian. It turns out they don't speak any English at all. They've just been like using translations when I've been talking to them.
Right, shit.
In Georgian, she's explaining the situation, going like, your apartment is being destroyed. Like, you're about to have no apartment. They're like, we're not renting to any Georgian people. She's like, no, I'm friends with an English guy. They're like, oh, okay.
Thinking it's a hoax.
Yeah.
It's a prank call at 3 a.m.
Arguing with her. No, this isn't true. Then they're like, show us a video. So she has to like go on video call and show them. Look, it's like dam has broken in the apartment. You need to solve it quickly.
Oh my God, mate, that's awful.
They end up communicating with us that the water valve is located outside the apartment down a sort of side street that goes round the back of the property.
Oh, you're joking.
So now at like 3:20 a.m., I'm like outside with my slippers on. I have to go through this door round the back of the property. At one point, I turn one valve thinking it's the water valve, and the most high pressure jet of water spurts out. It turns out I've switched on like the community fire hydrant. My friend's bursting out laughing because what can you do in a situation like this? I finally locate the water off valve and turn it. The relief when you do something like that in a situation such as this is palpable. But at this point, there's like 2 inches of water covering the kitchen out into the living room.
2 inches. Oh my! That doesn't sound like a lot, but I can visualize it, and that is a lot of water. I mean, damage limitations at that point, right? But
it takes a lot to fill a house with 2 inches. Yeah,
yeah. So then what happens from that moment on? Because you've stopped the water, but you're now got an apartment full of water, and it's 3 a.m.
Well, we didn't really know what to do, so we dammed up the kitchen best we could and sort of towel dried the lino, and then there was nothing much to do other than go back to sleep. We texted them and said, look, you need to come and solve this as soon as possible.
Yeah, totally.
The owner of the Airbnb said, we'll come and fix it in the morning.
Oh, cool.
I wake up from my slumber about 7 a.m. He's not there.
God.
He ends up coming round at about 10 o'clock, apologizes in Georgian for being there so early. We go out and get breakfast, and by the time I come back, mate, it's all dry. The pipe's been fitted brand new, and it's all sorted out. So I don't know what sort of Georgian wizardry was intricated on those pipes, but I mean, he did a good job.
So within sort of 12 hours, it was all spick and span and back to brand new, and
it was all good, mate. And I've got a few extra days in the apartment to show for it, free of charge.
Has it been absolutely fine since?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few occasions where the water's gone out. There's been construction outside, more power cuts and all of that stuff. But no problems with the water as of yet. So it just goes to show, mate, you've got to think on your feet in situations like that. Thank God my friend was round who spoke fluent Georgian.
Totally.
Thank God there was someone in the apartment. Can you imagine if that Airbnb was unrented?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if it had been on a day when no one had rented it, booked a night or whatever, then that would have just been happening for hours and hours, I imagine, until, the person came round at, say, circa 2 p.m. or some other really early time.
Yeah, it would have just destroyed the apartment until the walls got wet and the neighbours started noticing. And thank God we're on the bottom floor, because if we'd been a floor up, it would have gone through. So stuff like that destroys whole apartment blocks,
Yeah. Well, you should think yourself lucky for having a really authentic local Georgian experience.
Exactly. That's what I was told. So I'm very, very happy about that.
Class, mate. Oh, nice one. You're sticking it out there a few more days then? Can't be that bad.
A few more days, and then I'll head to Yerevan, Armenia, come back to Georgia, explore Georgia, and then head through Turkey to the rest of Europe, and then eventually the UK for Christmas. So there's my plans. If we've got any fanatic tropology people who want to come and intercept me on the way, you've got a rough guideline for how to do so.
That's wicked, mate. Oh, I can't wait to hear about it. Turkey's a place that's very close to my heart. I'm very lucky to have been there many times. So it's a real shame that I might not be able to join you for any of Turkey. Well, I don't want to say I definitely won't.
Well, I've got to hear about some of your other adventures in India, mate, because I'm sure there's lots more to tell. You're still in Rajasthan, moving around. I want to hear about all of those things in next week's episode, if that's okay.
That's what it's like, mate, traveling India. There's stuff that goes on every single minute. So there's loads to talk about.
Well, call me next week. Right now, we're going to go to the Lost and Found section. It's a bonus section that's available on patreon.com/Tropology Podcast. If you want to get in touch with the show, there's a lovely little place for you to go. It's called tropologypodcast.com. There you can find a form called the Hostel Common Room where you can get in touch, ask us questions. There's all sorts of cool things like a blog on food, everything you need tropologically related on there. So check out tropologypodcast.com. Check it out. Adam, call me next week, mate, and we'll see the audience there.
We'll see you there. Bye.